Hi, my name is Johnny Kwon. I'm the director of Always Be Boyz, and I'm here to talk about the process of making this movie. So when I went to Korea, one of the first things I did was enroll in this breakdancing class. I happened to meet this b-boy named B-Boy 7, and he at the time was with this crew called Gambler. I started kind of documenting his life, and so with my little camcorder, I followed him around for probably 2 years. He was sponsored by Puma at the time, or so-called sponsored. I saw him always wearing Puma clothing, and so I asked him, is Puma sponsoring you? And he told me yes. And I asked him, well, how much do you get? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, how much do they pay you? And he said, oh, well, I'm not getting paid, they just give me free clothes. And I said, oh, well, that wouldn't be sponsorship. That would be more just kind of you being exploited to a certain extent. And he didn't quite understand, so I explained to him that a b-boy with his type of skills needs to be getting sponsored legitimately. And what I mean by that is being paid. So I met up with Puma and asked them, I said, well, are you sponsoring Seven? And they told me, yes, they are. And I said, well, how much are you paying him? And they said, well, oh, we don't really pay him, we just give him free clothes. That's when I started thinking about really the true struggle of these b-boys. Basically, these boys who I shot, all of them had been dancing for Puma for free. And their skills were at a level that were, second to none. They were just, mad about breakdancing. They were taking it to a whole nother level. And so my fight became about trying to legitimize these kids, trying to legitimize breakdancing. I mean, it was still kind of seen as this street form of expression, but not something like ballet, where you have, tradition, where you have history, where you have respect, where you have recognition. And, these boys, basically, they give their lives to this art form. They practice day and night like crazy, and through the process, their body takes a toll. By the time they're about 30 years old, they're not going to be able to be b-boying anymore. So it's a huge sacrifice, and they're just doing it for the love of it. So in writing this story, I really felt like I have got to make a movie that captures their imagination, that stimulates their intellect, that makes them rethink the way that they think. In order to do that, I could have either hired actors and had them learn how to breakdance, as many people in the industry had suggested I do, or I could just take the b-boys that I met and train them and basically have them reenact their lives in front of the camera. And so that's what I chose to do. I spent all my time from then on educating these boys, having them read books, having them read Shakespeare, having them read Chekhov, Meisner, Stanislavski, all kinds of books having to do with acting. I had them read philosophy, I had them read Socrates, I had them read Plato, had them read, a lot. And during that time, I also had them take ballet lessons and yoga lessons, just to see what would happen to their b-boying style if they fused it with some of these other traditional dance arts. So on a very, very, very small budget, we made it happen. We started shooting in September of 2005. And from then on, it was a whole nother roller coaster, a whole nother mountain to climb, because I'd never made movies before. I'd never made a short film before. Hadn't gone to film school, none of that. All I knew about the closest thing I knew about movies was acting, being an actor. So that was a very hard thing to deal with because, you know, you just have less organization on a certain level. But all in all, I would have to say it was something that I had to go through in order to make this, and hopefully next time out it won't be as complicated, but that's independent filmmaking.